This nightmare happened when I took way too many sleep hormones one night. It starts with me standing in front of a giant mansion about 3 floors tall but extremely sprawling. Out of nowhere, some guy dressed in white slacks and turtleneck appeared in front of me with a scalpel in his hand. At first he just stared and twirled the scalpel in his right hand while I start to back away. It was a flash of movement before I noticed he sliced a part of my arm in a split second. As I started to panic and try to step back, nothing was working until I slashed at him with nothing. A scalpel appears in my hand and we just get down to the bloodiest knife fight I have ever seen. The setting was beautiful with the moon rays high glinting off the snow. The blood splatters were also quite aesthetically appealing in a creepy way. Anyways, we both collapse from exhaustion and everything fades to black. Then I wake up inside the mansion in a small private library surrounded by a bunch of different people, including the characters from Clue. I have 2 nightmares that stuck with me because of how good they would be for the plot of a show. The first one was about a girl that in her dreams enters a door into a black hallway at which there's another door at the end, but as she approaches the door, white hands come to grab her and she faints and wakes up. Each night she falls asleep, she enters the hallway, and each night she makes it a little closer before fainting. One night she managed to open the door and gravity changes, the hands can't hold her and she falls into the door to an ocean, which scares her so much she faints and wakes up. Then a doll comes to her lying in bed to explain what is happening. When she dreams, she's trapped in a labyrinth of worlds interconnected by doors. At the end of the labyrinth, her parents are in prison, suspended in a state of continuous horror to fuel the nightmare machine, which is incomplete. The only way to complete it is to also trap the girl in a state of continuously sustained terror, but as she keeps fainting, the machine is unfinished. So it's a game of cat and mouse between the doll to scare the girl and the girl to go to trough all the doors across increasingly scary worlds without fainting, or she'll have to restart nor becoming insane with fear. The other one is about a high school girl that gets raped and killed but becomes undead, physically a classic zombie but with conscience, and has to keep going to school and attempt to have a normal life. No one else acknowledges she's a zombie and she feels frustrated because she's obviously a rotting corpse, but her family keeps pushing her to a normal life and keeps having suitors and stuff that she doesn't think should be wasted on someone who's already dead. I was standing in a really dark room looking at a collection of photographs. They're all of my grandma, who recently passed away IRL. I pick up this one photo and it's of my grandma standing with this girl at some sort of track meet. In my dream, I'm thinking there's no way my grandma was doing all the stuff in these pictures, since she'd been unable to leave her house and been in the hospital in the past few years. I look closer at her face in the photos and I notice there's something off about the way she's smiling, like the person in the photo is some kind of imposter that looks just like my grandma. Jump ahead to the next scene and I'm in another dark room looking at another photograph. This one is like one of those old-timey black and white 1800s daguerreotypes. It has a bunch of people from my family in it, all dressed in Victorian-era clothing, and each person has their name inscribed under them in the photo, except the names are all wrong, like they're just completely made up nicknames that they never even had. Even creepier, everyone who had died in the photo was just their clothes. Like, literally, just clothes hovering over the ground. Ugh. It was one of those dreams that just gave me a really bad vibe all day. About a year ago, I had a night terror. I was laying in bed when it felt like something came into the room. It grabbed my wrist and did this terrifying laugh, then was gone. Flash forward to a few days ago, recently single and living alone, I dreamt that my ex came over while I was sleeping. I didn't think much of it, was actually happy he was there. I rolled over, slept a few minutes, and woke up. I reached next to me and felt him laying with me. Again, didn't think much of it and happy he was there. I slept a few more minutes again and woke. Bed was empty, so I got up thinking he was in the living room. I tripped over a magazine holder, which I don't own, that was full of knitted blankets. Weird. Went to the living room, saw his backpack, but not him. I heard a cough from downstairs, so I thought he was outside having a smoke. I waited and waited and waited till it dawned on me he was never actually here. That's when I felt like I wasn't alone. I looked over into the kitchen and saw a pair of eyes. That's when it laughed. Needless to say, I woke up freaking the hell out, and it took everything in my power to not call my ex. I always felt warm and safest with him, but I knew I had to deal with this on my own. Since I've been a child, I've had one recurring nightmare, along with dozens of others, but this one has always stuck out in my mind. I dream very vividly, and my nightmares are no exception. It started when I was around 5. I'd be in my old house in bed, and a figure in a cloak would come and lead me downstairs and sit me on the couch. When I got to the couch, all I could hear was this figure's crackling's voice and white noise that was like TV static. It wouldn't let me leave and would laugh when I cried out. If I ever tried to move, I'd find myself suddenly paralyzed while this thing laughed at me and said things to make me upset. It kept telling me to give up and stop struggling and just let go. I've never given up and found out whatever the hell that means, and I've even gotten pretty good at waking myself up, but it's unsettling all the same because more than once I've woken up in the living room. When I have this dream, it's the only time I sleepwalk, and it's unsettled me for as long as I can remember. TLDR, reoccurring nightmare about cloaked figure telling me to give in and mentally tormenting me causes me to sleepwalk.